And welcome back again. Happy Tuesday to you. If you're just tuning in, welcome aboard. If you have to rush off to whatever your day is, going to work or running errands, make sure you always come back. You can do a little hashtag replay or do those aha moments, light bulb moments of, oh my gosh, I just got what they were saying. Or, hey, this really affected me. I had to go back and watch or listen. Remember, we do have a podcast on top of the talk show that drops Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. and some really powerful ones. A lot of times you see these and then maybe you need to hear the message and not be looking at anything else, but just taking a walk or maybe hopping on a bike or doing your exercise or just sitting in a meditative state and listening and thinking, I heard the message before, but maybe I was distracted and I just need to hear it again. So be listening again on all the audio podcast platforms Thursday morning. All right. So I talked about the unfortunate side of divorce. You never want to say that a couple gets together and that ultimately that's what happens down the line. If it does, however, that doesn't mean that you walk away from your children. Remember, you have a responsibility. You have a role when you have a child. And if we can get this in more and more brains to get the aha moment, or maybe to have you return into the life of your children, that would be a powerful thing. And that would mean that we did exactly what we set out to do today. Let me introduce my guest, Laura McCoy, again, the author of the book, Daddy Don't Go. First of all, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I love to be real. So she and my dear friend Marty, who was in yesterday, I love when people walk in and they're like, oh, I thought it was huge by the look, right? It's smoke and mirrors and TV.
It's
that
a
we always say.
very neat studio.
Yeah.
It's very neat.
Thank you. So, you don't need everything that we had in the television studios. There was such, wasted space and, you had cameras, but then it was just huge room. Why?
And I like what you said about being able to spend a little more time when you talk to people instead of just going, okay, you've got 5 minutes.
Right. Oh, you didn't even have 5 minutes, Laura. You had 2 or 3 if you were lucky.
Yeah.
But this was created for warmth and to make you feel welcome.
It works.
Good. I was hoping that was the case. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about your story. And then I want to hear you, if you want to drop any comments in, questions, etc. What do you have as an aha moment that can relate to what she's saying? So Daddy Don't Go. First of all, when did you come up with the idea of the organization and the book?
Well, the book has been on my heart for about 20 years, and God just kind of laid out circumstances where I was able to take some time and actually write it and finish it. And it started off as it was just going to be my story and the stories of some of the girls that I worked with over the years, just combining those things. And then a friend of mine said, you really need kind of a workbook piece to this where somebody could walk through. So the way it's laid out is it's a little bit of this woman's story you're following that's fiction, but also based on a lot of reality experiences of mine and other girls. So it's a chapter of that story, and then at the end of each chapter is a little workbook piece based on, and it's faith-based.
And I love that. I love that. I love the exercise side because to me, when I was looking through, it was, yes, you got to stop with this. You have to sit with it. You have to think about it. You have to think how it affects your heart and your mind. What is it doing to what you have lived in your life? And then stop and do some exercises. Yeah. So we'll talk about, again, what you think is the most powerful side of it. And for those that maybe have the book already, what kind of feedback you've had of what they think really works for them. But you've probably heard me say before that we've got to take it out of here and then put it down. And then I actually, even beyond just reading it, I like to speak it out loud so that you're actually hearing it. There's a whole other level of that.
So much power in that.
Yep. And then if you trust someone, you let them hear you speak it out. So then there's another part to that.
Yes.
So let's talk about your life. So, and then obviously, as you had mentioned, a mixture of people that you know. So just give us a little brushstroke because I don't want to give the entire book away.
Yeah. So my parents divorced when I was about 5 years old. My dad started another relationship and had another family. So my mom remarried someone that moved to St. Louis. So we were up here and my dad was in Georgia and Florida, moving all over the place in Georgia and Florida. So we would have summers with him. And the rest of the time we would live with my mom. And so when I would go and stay with my dad, when I say that he was an absent dad, he was in the room, but he might as well have been this chair. He was very, very disconnected. Yeah. Fortunately, I had a wonderful, wonderful stepmother who's still one of my best friends. I lost my dad a long time ago, but she's still one of my best friends, and she made summers fun, and she was very encouraging and loving, and I'm very grateful for that. So for the step parents out there, you have a huge power. You have huge power in the lives of these kids. You have no idea.
I love that you said that because a lot of times it's, How are the kids going to receive the stepdad or the stepmom? There's another role here. Do they still hang on to, I wish my parents were together? I mean, there are so many levels of all of the players in this, right?
Yep.
So she mentions in the book that, again, you can be there, but are you present in their life? Are you interacting with them? Do you want anything to do with them? Or is it just, oh, fine, I have to be here? I mean, what did that do to you?
Right. So it was just this constant, it transformed into a perfectionism sort of thing, because I was always trying to say, see me, and you were never good enough. And I still fight those demons sometimes, that you just feel like, maybe if I do this, he'll see me. Maybe if I do that, he will pay attention to me. And he didn't. I would call him from home when we were back home, and he would just act like he was reading the paper, kind of dismissive. And so I just think, it translates into other things. The perfectionism for me was one of the biggest ones, but it translates to other things.
Again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the book, and we'll talk about this conference coming up in the fall that we would love for you to know more about, and for you to say, yep, I understand what she's going through. I've been there as well. So when that is affecting you at such a young age, a very formidable teaching age, I look at this in my life coaching and I call it timeline therapy, that until you ever feel seen, validated, worthy, that you're stuck at that age, no matter whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You agree with that?
Absolutely. And having the good fortune of marrying a man who understood a lot of that. I've just had my 40th wedding anniversary.
Congrats.
And he's walked through a lot of those things with me. Like, why are you doing this? Because we get into sometimes too, the other thing we do is this self-destructive behaviors. And early on in our relationship, there were a lot of things that, you're just, why are you doing that? This is not who you are. And just walking through some of those things. So
well, and you just nailed it. You hope that you can find a partner that is compassionate, that you can talk to, that you can be communicative with, you can be honest with, that will be like, it's okay. I'm going to take you from that age and pull you into the biological age that you are. Don't let him have power over you anymore, right? Because until you release that, they do still have power over you.
Yes.
And then you come back and, you talked about the perfectionism mentality. We have an entire show on the dangers of perfectionism. And it's because you're never going to be. No one, by the way, is perfect. You will never be perfect. I know, right? Aha moment. There's our light bulb moment of the day.
Wait a second. I've been striving for this my whole life.
Thank you, Monica, for letting me know that. Now I'm going to start living. So again, when they are not present, and you want to be seen, you're acting out. They might get frustrated with you. Like, what is your problem? I just want to be seen. You're supposed to be my dad, or you're supposed to be my mom, whatever it is. All these levels. So you were 5. How old was he?
How old was my husband? My father when he left us? Oh gosh, that's math.
Approximately.
That's math. That's early. I don't remember. So my mother's 84, and they're the same age. So. That's a lot of math.
The reason I'm asking
he
is
was in his 20s, I guess.
Okay, I was
early
just going to ask
30s.
20s or 30s. Okay, and again, this is no. I don't want you to take this and mistake this as at all that I'm giving it out because they're 20 or 30. But I've seen this in 2 decades of counseling people, that it is, well, I was so young and I got into a family and I was trying to take on this responsibility and I wasn't ready. I want you all to look at your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, even 30s. We had a couple guys on a couple weeks ago that said, oh yeah, we're not grown up until we're in our mid 30s, maybe even 40.
I agree.
Okay, but the thing is, you decided to have a child, whether it was a oops or it was planned, right then and there, you have a responsibility.
Agreed.
Okay.
Absolutely agreed.
So you got to grow up.
Well, but also in the generation that was my parents' generation, divorce wasn't, people didn't get divorced, but they also didn't talk about anything.
Right.
And so when they're not talking about anything and these issues come up, and, he had a family history too, and he brought that with him that impacted, who he was. And so that's a factor too. I think that I have passed on to my boys an emotional intelligence, an ability to talk about the things that they feel, and with their partners in particular and work those things out, because people just didn't do it back then.
They didn't. And we talk about that a lot, about how this generation now is realizing, oh, well, we talk. Good for you. And I'm glad that you broke the cycle and the history of grandparents, parents all going, no, 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 we don't show emotion. This is weakness. You don't talk about these things. Or as you mentioned, what a really powerful thing to say. They looked at divorce, which some of you may still, as failure, where others look at it as, no, we tried. We tried. Did you go to counseling? Did you really exhaust every effort, or did you just give up? Because sometimes it's just giving up too soon.
Yes.
We're talking about the dad's presence in their children's life, but I'm also going to say in relationships, don't just look at it as, whatever, it doesn't work. Because if you go into a marriage and you right away put that in your mind of, well, if it doesn't work, I'm just going to get a divorce. Just like, what? You made vows, you had children, you have responsibility. So for all of you, again, I'm not trying to preach here, but it really is, do you just go through marriage as, oh, it's a fun wedding day and whatever, I'll just throw this away if I don't think it's going to work?
I do think there's more emphasis on the wedding than on the marriage.
Oh,
absolutely. Because there's this great wedding and then 2 years later, everything's all gone. But again, there's certain people shouldn't be together. In certain dads really could, when I say you want to have a relationship with your children, some dads should not be in the picture because they're abusive or they're,
yes.
So we don't want to dismiss that at all. But
no.
The thing that I want to really keep driving home is the fact that, okay, your marriage didn't work, but that doesn't mean that you have to just step away. And dads in our culture right now, it's an epidemic. If you want to talk about an epidemic, it's huge. Fatherlessness is rampant in our culture, and it is creating so many problems. If you look at even just gang membership, the gangs have just gotten bigger and bigger. There's more and more gang activity happening. If a boy goes into a gang, the chances are he's looking for a dad. He's
absolutely.
Looking for someone to be strong to tell him what to do, and he'll do anything to please him.
If you go in, let me reintroduce my guest again, Laura McCoy. We're talking about the book, Daddy Don't Go. If you go into neighborhoods that are poverty-stricken, and you sit down and you really get to know some of these children, they're lost.
They are.
Because they never had any type of a role model in their life, sometimes no mother or father. So then they're looking to their aunt, right? They say, granny. Where's my aunt? Where's my granny? Yes, all of that. And it really is, it breaks my heart, because what happens, and coming from what I came from in the news, they would always get this bad rap. Oh, the inner city area, the St. Louis City area, the North City area. And it was, well, how about they've got a story to tell? If we really would sit down, all of them that are involved in violence, do they really want to be that person? Or it's all they know because they had no structure?
And once you're in, it's hard to get out.
Absolutely.
Well, and also I'm not going to dismiss the fact that there are some amazing single moms out there. Absolutely amazing single moms. My mother remarried. My stepfather, that's a whole nother story altogether. But she was basically a single mom. And my mother she was strong. We still say things to this day. She had authority, and there was no questioning that. With love, soft gloved authority. That's the way I would call it.
I like that.
She, men they fill a role with a father fills a role that kids, they absolutely need that. And I think about my relationship with my husband. There were a lot of times when he would discipline in ways that I would feel like a little strong, it's a little too firm. I wouldn't go that way. But my boys needed that.
Absolutely.
They absolutely needed that. And they've grown to good men because of him.
Well, and I want to applaud also, though. There are some, if they are awarded custody, there are some incredible single fathers out there.
Yes.
So we're not going to say that there aren't wonderful men. There's wonderful women, wonderful men. It's all these things of never berating. So please understand this message, that it is the role that the child needs. But I have a lot of people that I counsel. I'm thinking of one in particular, and she has to play the role of both mother and father. And there's many times where she sits there and goes, I know that he's not the best for them. And this is one of those circumstances where he's not. But it's also, do they need it at all? So she would say, you need to be involved, but you can't be there with them by themselves.
Right.
So she's got to then be there for it. Then she feels awkward because they want to. You always long for both parents.
You do.
You can't say, anybody that's watching, there's no way that you say, I wouldn't love to have the Brady Bunch, right? The Leave It to Beaver, this perfect family that you believe is, were there problems in those families that we watched on TV? Well, but on TV, it wasn't real. Leave It to Beaver. They had to have problems, right? But they never showed it. We now show it more in the TV that we have now, which is probably a good thing because now it's realistic. But then it's talking about this. Does this exist in our own lives? It is, as you just mentioned, it is more common to not have just a father, mother, and children and not have levels of, oh, here's a step over here. This one's been married multiple times. People used to call that dysfunctional. Now it's normal.
It is. And understanding that the children in this process so often get kind of thrown to the side. Well, we're creating this new family and nobody's considering the fact that those kids have to adjust to these new kids or this new house or all this, every single summer when we went to go see my dad, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, he was in a different house because he moved all the time. So there were new kids, new house, new neighborhood, new everything for us to navigate.
Yeah.
It's helped me be very social and very outgoing. And I'm grateful for that because we just had to make friends every summer, brand new friends, right?
So there's a positive you can take out of it, right?
Right. Well, and that's one of my things too, is please don't consider yourself, oh, my dad wasn't in my life, so I'm just a victim. I have people reach out to me all the time who are singing that song. And I just say, look, it's still up to you to decide what it is that you want to do with your life. And you can't stay stuck like that.
Oh, that's it. Please take that, repeat it, hear it. When it comes to the audio podcast, pause, listen to it again and again and again. The repetition will finally sink in. That is every level of anything that's never worked in your life. Go back to the source, if you're the source or someone else is the source, whether it's a situation or a person. Don't give them power anymore. They don't deserve it.
Yeah. Well, and to see yourself as a victim, to constantly walk around and see yourself as a victim, you can be victorious with just a tweak. It doesn't even take that much. Just change something, some thought pattern, some behavior pattern that you have so that you're not a victim anymore. So important.
But take it one step at a time.
Yes.
I think the problem that most people do is they get overwhelmed and they want to take it all on, everything that has gone wrong. Let's attack it all today. And then you just are exhausted. You have anxiety, stress, fear. Oh my gosh, and then you go back to the next day. Never mind. I'm just going to wipe it all away because I can't take that on.
Hard.
Yeah. So when she has you do the exercises in the book, Daddy Don't Go, it really is pause. One thing, this thing from my past, this thing that he did or didn't do, or he wasn't present, so I felt this happen. Write it down, do the exercises that she talks about. We're going to take a quick break and let's talk about some of those exercises. What she feels when she was writing it was, hey, this is going to change lives. And for those people that have the book already, I'd really love to know what kind of feedback that helped them finally take steps forward and get out of that 5-year-old child, 10-year-old child, wherever the absence happened, and suddenly become the 30 or 40 or 50-year-old, et cetera, that they are. It's just this freeing feeling when suddenly you can be the person you're supposed to be at this particular age. Okay. So if you have any questions or comments, we'll go to those for you. Any aha moments, anything you want to say again to Laura about this? Daddy Don't Go. And we're going to talk about a conference coming up in the fall as well. So don't go anywhere.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
And welcome back once again. Thanks for tuning in. Daddy Don't Go. Laura McCoy is my guest. I'm going to go to some comments as we talk more about the relationship that we want you to have with your children and how important it is when you step away. You know what? Right now you could be watching and saying, this is me. Don't feel guilty. Just do something about it, right? Take the steps forward. So Marilyn, your dear friend that connected
Hi,
us.
Marilyn.
Yep, she is on this morning and said, "Yay, you always amaze me. You, like Monica, haven't always influenced me continually. Your upbringing does have an effect on who you become. You've conquered a lot and have overcome to uplift and make a difference in so many, including our wonderful neighborhood. Great interview."
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have any comments or questions that you want to drop in, these aha moments, let us know. Rose also said, "Don't need divorce to have an absent dad."
Oh, true.
Good
Yes.
comment. Julie said, "When I met my husband, he was a single dad with an absent mom." Okay, here we go. So Laura, what about your father's father? I often think it's what they learn and they continue to cycle. So if you just tuned in, that's what we mentioned. A lot of times, and although people swear they wouldn't do it again because they hated it,
You can't help it almost.
there you go. It's all you know.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like you can't help it. He was a very strong character, and I won't give you any more details, but my dad was overly perfectionist, and as a result of that, and yeah. So the beautiful thing about my relationship with my dad is about 5 years before he passed away, maybe 6 or 7. I was able to connect with him, and I asked him if he wanted to be a part of my life and my children's lives, and he said yes, and we healed a lot. And I was able to have never a daddy relationship, but a friendship with him before he passed away, and I'm so grateful, because if I hadn't just reached out to him and said, I would really like to have you as part of my life. I don't know what that looks like, but do you want to? And
Would you have had
that
regrets?
story's in the book, because he got very defensive when I first kind of confronted him.
Why do you think?
Because he didn't want to own
Mhm.
his own stuff. And
Right.
so, but it was absolutely beautiful. And I'm so glad it happened like that, because I would have regretted not doing that,
It's the one thing, and I know it's scary for people when that has been missing. And especially if you have a very strong, opinionated person that doesn't want to take responsibility, and you meet that, but I can't imagine you leaving this earth without some type of resolve.
Yeah.
So even if it's not exactly what you wanted, did you feel a little solace?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad
And
you had that.
I feel like my kids got to know him a little bit, just
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. But yeah, so that was good too.
We went into the break and I talked about how in the book, Daddy Don't Go, Don't Divorce Your Kids, that there's the exercise component. How healing do you think that is, and what kind of feedback have you gotten?
Well, I don't think, even if I'm reading a piece of fiction, I'm still relating to it and trying to figure out what that means for me, and you're relating things for yourself. And this story goes through, and maybe you might not resonate with everything that's going on with the main character. You could at least see something and work on that particular piece. And everything, all of the workbook is faith-based. So everything goes back to scripture for me, that is really, he is my father. And I wouldn't be sitting here walking and talking if I didn't have that connection with God, because he replaced it. You think, you have to have an earthly father, not necessarily. And I think a lot of times people interpret their faith in God based on what their earthly father was like. And that's kind of a mistake, because they're not perfect. And, if we can lean into the idea that I have this father he loves me no matter what, how stupid I am of the things that I'm doing. So
that's interesting. So the people that feel I don't have the physical component of a dad present in my life, if they are completely missing from a connection to faith, that maybe today you would say, maybe seek that out, because then you would find a true father figure.
yeah, what I tell people is just ask him to show up.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens. I dare
See
you.
what happens. I dare you.
Because if you just say show up, most of the time you're going to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. Well, I can. I can believe it happened.
Right. And again, this show, is very faith-based. We always end with a devotional. I never push faith on you, but I also say if you feel lost, you might want to try it. And then maybe you'll feel that you've got your path laid out in front of you again, and that there's this whole tribe that was waiting there, and a community. So sometimes when people feel like I have no friends, that there's a whole community waiting there for you.
Huge.
Just try.
Yes.
Right.
But we were talking before about, maybe a child doesn't have a dad in their life and there's a single mother raising them. Oftentimes, and I've seen it happen so many times, wonderful other strong men come into their lives through different, venues, that they have these great kind of dad figures. And so that works too. When I first started the Facebook page, I had this dad, it wasn't even 24 hours. This dad reached out to me and he said, just read me the riot act saying, I can't believe that you're hammering this because I can't get my ex to be with
Right.
the kids. And I said, I can't handle all of that. There's only so many things I can address, and this is what I know.
Right.
So this part of it is what I'm addressing.
Well, and Laura and I mentioned earlier, and I hope you heard that message, and I'm going to say it again. There are a lot of wonderful men that are connected to their children. We are saying we applaud you.
Yes.
We're actually saying maybe be the role model and speak out more about how much you love being in your kids' lives, because maybe those that are seeing you, watching, never speaking, they're getting the message, and maybe they step up and man up.
Yes.
Because it really is woman and man up. You both need to have a connection. Now, again, we mentioned earlier, there are going to be circumstances where from abuse standpoint, or let's go through some of these, that you don't belong in their lives because you would be detrimental to them.
Okay.
You mentioned several things in the book that have to do with when a dad is not present. All of these things you could relate back to them. And I can keep going on other hands and other hands
Yes,
and other
it's
hands.
statistical. The statistics prove fatherlessness creates all of these cultural problems.
Name some of them.
You've got my list sitting there, and I just had a blank.
Well,
it's this top of this.
So we also are showing some slides, but
this is the handout that I give divorce attorneys and counselors and things, and just at the top of the list. Now I don't have my glasses on either. So self-esteem,
yes,
abandonment issues, behavioral problems, social anxiety, intimacy problems, poor academic performance. It's huge. Delinquency, youth crime, promiscuity, drug and alcohol abuse, exploitation and abuse by others, which is another thing that we could talk about for 3 days about trafficking and why it's so easy for kids to get trafficked. A lot of times it's because they don't have a father in their life.
Yep.
Physical health problems, mental health disorders, risk-taking behaviors, unhealthy relationships, and even early death, because a lot of times those risk-taking things create problems that end up the child loses their life at a young age.
And you were looking at all of that on the slide. And again, the mental health impacts that you're seeing there. So it was interesting statistics to talk about. Now you go back and think about all those things that Laura just mentioned and think, oh, is that why all these things have happened to me? You're just trying to put the puzzle together. And now it's really, I always talk about this, becoming very introspective, to think, sit. Nobody else understands what you've gone through unless you're speaking it, but sit with it and think, that's why I'm doing this, or that's why this was done to me, or that's why I don't have a voice. That's why I was led into this particular path. You know, violence to you and the ones that you're committing. You talked about promiscuity, young girls that don't see themselves as any value.
Oh my gosh, huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem.
That's the thing, that they wanted to be seen. So sometimes they act out that way.
Your
even though
first idea about what your value is as a woman comes from your dad.
Yeah.
How your dad, reacts to you. If he says you're beautiful, then you
feel it,
internalize that,
yeah.
right? That's huge.
Well, and so this is interesting. We'll go here and feel free to comment as much as you want. When a person, it doesn't matter who is in your life, says something about you, do you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not believe it? If you don't believe it, then you should stand up for yourself and come back and say, no, I am intelligent. I am a beautiful human being. When I hear, and this is what I get so frustrated by, people will go to church. It is literally when I walk out of church and I will there's steps out of church and they are screaming at their kids, smacking their kids. And I'm like, so you just went to make yourself feel better. Yeah. That's what I feel.
Or to check it off.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And now you've walked out and now this is how you're treating the kids. I don't get this. But it's the things that they're saying, and it always makes me cringe because it makes me come back to think, are they hearing all of that and eventually believing what that person's saying? Mm-hmm. So now that whole transfer just happened of you've just given that dad, mom, whoever, that control over wherever you are at that point and wherever you're going to stop, right? At least, yes, you're all probably saying, well, but there's a dad there. Yeah, but what are you doing?
Yes.
Right? We mentioned sometimes maybe they shouldn't be in the life, or they need to check themselves.
Yeah, there are couples who are together all the time that it just never ceases to amaze me how you can you need to plug your kid or yourself in the whole time that you're together. I
Yeah.
don't understand that.
Right.
And, because I was walking through the grocery the other day and they had given this little 3-year-old a tablet. And I think, we would go through the grocery and say, where are the oranges? Have conversations with your kids. Why are we not doing that anymore? And, that if you think that's happening in healthy marriages, if you've got a dad who only sees you once a week for 2 days and he's on his phone all the time, what is that speaking to that little heart, that little soul? So
there are some dads that I've seen in interviews that are saying, okay, you're telling me I'm not present, but I'm out there trying to work. And it's like, yeah, but there has to be some point where you turn it off and that when you come home, let your children, if it's just you and them, or if you are in a marriage still, let your wife say and receive it okay. Hey, you need to shut it down because look, their kids are over there looking like, you want to play with me?
yeah,
Do you want to have a role?
it's such a problem.
You talk about know your children, right? So Laura says this a lot in the book. Know who your children are. I'll ask you this because I believe that if we all went back to the family dinner table.
Yes.
Okay, good. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, wow. Well, it's the connectedness. It's even us looking at each other eye to eye.
Yeah.
I used to work with people with dementia, and that is one thing that prevents dementia is in-person eye-to-eye contact. So what you're doing is making your child healthier every time you sit with them and look them eye to eye and have a conversation. Their brain is just firing like crazy.
Right.
Whereas if you're just half,
Being present.
yes, responding to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a break again. We're going to talk about this conference. I want you to know about this. There's a lot of thought and a lot of hard work being put into this coming up for you in the fall. And is registration underway already?
Yes,
Okay.
just opened yesterday.
Just opened yesterday. Okay, great. So timing is perfect on this. We'll let you know how you can register, what's all involved in that. And we'll do all of that when we return.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
Ooh, doesn't that look good? I mean, literally, if you just tuned in and you didn't see the forecast that we gave you at the beginning, it is mid to upper 90s, just oppressive heat, dangerous heat as that. If you can, you stay inside. Air conditioning, we mentioned though, air conditioning units are going out left and right now. They're just getting overworked, but you might want to immerse yourself in that. Get into a pool. If you don't have a pool, but you've always maybe collectively as a family said, I really would love to have one. It doesn't have to be this elaborate thing, or maybe it is for you. You do you. You make your own decision. But what I would love for you to do is when it's that time that you remember our friends at Just Pools. Where are they? They're on the West Outer Road in Arnold. So as you're driving down 55 and you're like, oh, that's that gorgeous pool. Yeah, that pool right there is theirs. They're located 3987 West Outer Road South in Arnold. And we always talk about the beautiful things they have there. Again, just to make your experience more fun. Just Pools, the pool and spa specialist. Take advantage of that 10% off of their Clear Results chemicals right now. And the phone number, 636-464-7110. Thank you, Madonna. We love having you as one of our many sponsors. Welcome back. Again, I'm your host, Monica Adams. The show is The Real Monica Adams Show, and we're visiting with Laura McCoy. Again, feel free to drop in comments now, or if you watch this later, or maybe you had an aha and thought, oh, I should have said that then. So that's okay. Put it in later and I'll make sure that Laura sees this. So Rose just said that I read about how a lot of women who are overweight contributed to daddy issues. And she also said, so you didn't have a grandpa present?
I'm not sure I understand what the question is about being overweight. What?
She feels that a lot of people who have a weight problem,
Oh,
that
that
they
they're
related to
using
that.
food as a
Sure,
comfort.
I'm sure.
Sure, I'm sure that any addictions, right? So yes, I was trying to put that together. I didn't understand that. And
Yeah.
I
So,
did have a grandfather that was a stellar human being who, in fact, my oldest son's middle name is Thomas after him. He was my pop, and he was amazing faith-based man, but he was in Georgia, so I didn't get to see him very often, and it was before the internet.
yep.
Fortunately, I have a lot of the letters that we wrote back and forth, and he was a wonderful, wonderful man.
And you mentioned earlier, because sometimes you hope, okay, if I don't have a dad, but then over here somebody remarries, and then I have a step. We mentioned earlier the role that stepfathers and stepmothers play, and it's a very powerful one, even though sometimes, and I am one, sometimes you go, I don't know, where's my place here, right? Where you try to figure that out. You're not coming in ever to replace mom or dad. You are a bonus, and hopefully a great one. Yeah, a gracious hostess. I like that.
Yeah.
So, but you also hope that when that person comes in, that they don't damage again. Like you talk about alcoholism in the book, and we hope that that's not an issue, or drug abuse, or sexual abuse. I mean, all these things where children can be preyed upon. The trafficking issue is a big one. And by the way, do you know that St. Louis is a huge...
We're a hub. We are a hub.
Do you all know that?
We should always be looking for signs.
Yep.
We should always be looking. If you see it, say it.
So will you be talking about all these things? Let's talk about this conference. You have a conference coming up. Tell us about it, where it's going to be, and what is going to be discussed. She's very excited because registration's underway.
I am so excited about this. So October 21st from 7 a.m. till noon, because Laura doesn't have attention span that goes longer than that most of the time. But we're going to start at 7 a.m. because we want to have a little continental breakfast, have some networking things that we do. So teachers, educators, social workers, divorce attorneys, counselors, anyone is open to come. But the goal of the conference, we're going to have just brief speakers at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. We're going to do roundtables and have discussions, and then come to some sort of conclusions and some solutions that we can take back into our own communities. Because that's the most important part to me, is say, okay, yes, we're seeing that fatherlessness is a problem in our community, this little area that I represent.
Right.
What can I do
yes.
about it? So we're going to roundtable discussion and try to come up with those and have some action steps as we walk out the door. But continental breakfast, networking from 7 to 8, and then we're going to have some brief speakers. Then the whole thing is really going to be about everybody trying to come to some solutions.
And taking next steps at that point. So do you look from a national, regional, a local standpoint, and hey, what's happening in this state, this city? Why is it being more prevalent here? What can we learn from other areas? Are all the people that are speaking from our immediate area?
Well, just for now.
Okay.
We're going to do that for now, because...
But she wants to take over the world.
I do. I really want this to... Because really, I would like for you to get a copy of my book, but that's not why I'm here. Really, I want this movement to be on fire. Every time a divorce attorney or a dad or anybody says, I'm getting a divorce, I want you to say, don't divorce your kids. Just don't forget, don't divorce your kids, because the kids are just fallout, and we are seeing the result of that in our culture.
Right.
So one of the keynote speaker is Matthew Piper from UMSL, and he is going to talk about the moral impact of fatherlessness on our culture. So that's kind of the jumping off point, is this, part of the reason why we have people screaming and yelling all over the place. If you think about your dad, if you had a good dad, he was one of those dads that sort of reined you in and said, this is not the way that we behave. Moms, yes, but they're just a little softer. So the impact of that has created this culture, I feel, that is everybody screaming at each other all the time, and we've got to stop doing that. So that's just one piece.
And so after he speaks, then is it breakout groups?
Yes, we're going to do roundtables, and that's the majority of the morning is going to be just those discussions. I'll give everybody a topic. You do your roundtable discussion. We'll come together after that and see what you've come to and see if we can take that out into the world.
So how do people register for this?
Online. I don't have it on my website yet, but it's an Eventbrite. You can either email me or go to the website, and I'll get you hooked up.
And again, it's going to be on October 21st, 7:30 a.m. to noon.
7 a.m.
Oh, it's 7? Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
That's
So
okay. 7. I probably
yeah,
messed that up.
I was gonna say they pulled it off of the okay,
Yeah.
so it's 7 a.m. to noon at Rise Services, which is on Lackland Road, and it is just opening up for you from yesterday.
Yes.
So I mentioned earlier, for those that have your book already, Daddy Don't Go, what have been the aha moments that people have gotten from it?
So I haven't had a lot of feedback yet because it's still all very brand new. There's still a lot of
So we
brand
need
newness
that
to
from all
this.
of you that get it.
Yes, and again, I just want you to help me spread the message. Selling the book isn't really my main goal. So.
No, but what it will be is getting the book, giving her that feedback. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the reason why people say, hey, can you give me a Google review? Can you do
Yes,
that?
yes.
Because it is, hey, this was her passion project.
And if you are a fatherless daughter, and you sort of go down that faith road, it's going to help you. There's going to be a takeaway from it that will help you. I can promise you that. Just because I didn't come up with most of it. It
Right.
was definitely ordained.
Let me ask this. After the book, and it has, some legs to it, after the conference, what do you most hope is what takes hold and moves forward? Because again, you have been wanting this book to be out for 2 decades. You have wanted to start this conference. Now you are, and it's just the launching aspect so that you can continue that. What would give you absolute chills that would take hold for people?
That they would spread the word, that the message would be spread, and that there would actually become a cultural shift. That, that it almost becomes just second nature for people to say, so what about the kids? I really recommend that everybody who was a child of divorce do some sort of counseling. Everybody should. But if you are getting ready to go through a divorce and your kids are under 18, still living at home, you need to find a good family counselor. So you make sure, because I was one of those girls who looked very good on the surface. I looked great on the surface. Underneath, I was a train wreck.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
because
would
nobody
never.
wants to talk about it.
Yes.
It's what's going on behind closed doors.
Yes.
You literally, it's as if she could see inside my brain, because that's where I was going to go of how many of these people do you think need to go to counseling together and separate? You
All of
have to
them.
work on yourself. Yes, all.
All of
You can't try to do it alone. And by the way, and I love all the people that come and sit down and say, hey, I'm going to counseling. First of all, I applaud you for saying those words where it used to be taboo to say that. Marilyn just said, what a great chart, and it makes so much sense. Love that you give these out to counselors and attorneys. Yes, we really need to fix the family dynamics. In our generation, we got married so young and respected the vows that we took. It is easy to leave due to some incident and harder to stay. But if you find the right path, even though you reach many hurdles in the process, it's so worth it. Forgiveness, Marilyn says, is the thing for many incidents that happen. Marriage is not easy, no, but respect and remember why you came together and the love that you had for each other. There are some circumstances that warrant it, but so many can be healed.
Yes, that forgiveness piece is huge. Even if the person isn't in your life anymore,
Right.
it lifts this weight off you. I like the thing that says you're drinking the poison you are trying to give them. If you don't forgive people, you have to move forward and forgive people so that you can take that weight off of yourself and be a better person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
huge.
Again, if there's a divorce and ultimately you don't want that to happen, but there are people who aren't meant to be together, or they got married too young and they just didn't have the responsibility and they had to find themselves, but you have a child, you still have to play a role in that child's
Yes.
life. So if we can get you back to that,
Mhm.
that would be great.
And make sure you have some tools. When I
Yeah, don't
got
do
out
it
of-
alone.
Yes, when I got out of college, long time ago, I did. I was in counseling, and I did divorce. In the state of Missouri, you had to go through classes when you got a divorce, and they talked about a lot of these things, and they don't require that of you anymore.
Right.
So, and I think we maybe should get back to that too. It's just a basic, what to do and what not to do. My issue too is the putting the kids in the middle,
Yeah.
where they go stay with their dad, and when they come home to their mom, she said, "What did he say?" And what did trying to put the kids in the middle of the conflicts that are going on it's a big mistake.
It's interesting because so I just saw that she was tuning in. So my sister said I definitely can relate to her experience. So I have a half sister. Now I would hear stories though, and so it's always all these different levels of, well, somewhere in the middle of all this is the truth, but everybody has their own thought.
Exactly.
So I would hear my dad talk about how he would want to have his daughter, and then immediately, my mom tells the same story. Immediately, her mom would call, "Nope, this is what's going on. You got to come back." And he was trying to have a role in her life. I think more and more and more wanted to have her. And as she was young, my mom's like, "Oh no, we tried to have Cindy several times, but her mother would call her back home, and then she would cry and almost turn away from him.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes it's there's too many cooks in the pot here, too many cooks in the kitchen.
And just let the kids be kids.
Yep.
And when they're with you, be present with them and don't talk about the other parent. And just,
that's huge.
That was the biggest gift my parents gave me. When I can say that for my dad, absolutely. When we were with my dad, he had nothing bad to say about my mom. And my mom especially could have said bad things about my dad, and she did not.
No, because it's damaging. So, they don't need to hear all that.
Well, right,
don't air your laundry out.
Too much of a weight for little people. Yeah.
So let me ask this as we wrap up. We talk about faith. So which one of these do you feel today? So 100 days to freedom. Okay. So depression, fear and anxiety, shame, overeating, or anger. Which one do they need freedom from?
Fear and anxiety.
Always. Miranda's in here moderating with me, or not, doing some social media with me. I'm telling you right now, Laura, of all of them, this is the one that gets chosen the most. Okay, so let's do this. It's called Cared For, day 70. He will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will carry the lambs in his arms, holding them close to his heart. He will gently lead the mother sheep with their young. Oh. This is crazy.
Did you pick it?
No, you did. But look, anybody that watches the show is always like, did you guys do that in advance? Nope, I had no idea what she was going to pick. This is Isaiah 40, verse 11. Many times when we experience anxiety, we're feeling the stress of life. We may feel exhausted by the effort we put forth each day. We may be concerned about how we will make ends meet. We may feel alone in our journey. When we wake up feeling dread for the day ahead, sometimes this is free-floating, not based on anything specific, but the feeling is real. Research indicates that when we are experiencing anxiety, we will find relief when we extend care towards someone else. The simple act of caring for another relieves our own feelings of our own anxiety. It does not need to cost anything. Simply connecting through an email or maybe a text can encourage someone who may need to know you are thinking about them or praying for them. Maybe ask a neighbor if they need help with anything. You might not feel like you have the energy to extend care to another person, but if you will consider this action, it may make the difference in your day. So the Lord cares for you on days when you're weighed down by concern. Recall the ways that God has provided for you. Express gratitude. Try keeping a journal with a lot of the things you're thankful for, or do the exercises in the book. You can also create a list of ways to help others so that even when you feel stressed out, you'll have reminders of ways that you could extend a helping hand. And in this way, you'll literally be the hands and the feet of Jesus, which will then bring you peace. Queen Elizabeth II said, it's understandable that we sometimes think the world's problems are so big that we can do little to help. On our own, we cannot end wars or wipe out injustice, but the cumulative impact of thousands of small acts of goodness can be bigger than we can ever imagine. So here's your prayer. Lord Jesus, thank you for loving care for me. Help me to recognize the needs of others. Equip me to fulfill your desire to help them. I ask for your peace of mind, and I recognize that you have given me all I need. Amen. Amen. See?
Oh my gosh.
We love the faith. Absolutely. So one more time, we're going to put up the screen the book itself, Daddy Don't Go, and you can order that right now. It's available to you as well. Don't forget about the conference coming up in October, because registration is officially underway. They can email you for more information, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so all that information on your website, on the page right now, daddydon'tgo.net, at daddydon'tgo_daughters on social media. And again, it's Daddy Don't Go. Connect with us. Make sure that you reach out. If you didn't feel like commenting in the live show, that's okay. Reach out to Laura and say, boy, this really hit home with me. Or maybe you are a dad that said, thank you for, without calling my name, calling me out, because I felt myself in today's story. So Laura, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
This is one of those things that we really just need to get people talking. All right, I want to remind you, tomorrow we have our Wellness Wednesday, and we will be talking about a beautiful young girl who, when she was just a year old, she was diagnosed with a blood-related cancer. But because of all the help that she had, she decided to give back. At the very young age of 4, she started doing a lemonade stand, and she's raised $19,000 for Camp Rainbow. Wow. Now they have a goal. So I know that this is an incredible community. I want all of you to go at 141 and 21, if you can, this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. She's a lemonade stand, and we want to get her to raise another $6,000 so she can get to $25,000 for 2025.
Does she have a website?
So we have tomorrow where we are going to post the Venmo that if you can't come and do the lemonade stand, that you can drop that in. But Haley is her name, Haley's Lemonade Stand, and it's affiliated right there in front of her parents own a fireworks stand. So the red, white, and blue fireworks stand that's right there across from the Pink Elephant next to Quick Trip. If you're familiar with that 141-21 area, I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, that's nowhere near me. That's where you as a community can help, and you just make a donation to the Venmo, which we'll drop all that for you tomorrow. So you don't want to miss that. Oh, yeah, she's an incredible human being. Also, this weekend, I'd like to see you. Do you need a manicure?
Always, but I love to dig in the dirt, so I don't get them.
Pedicure. How about a pedicure? So here's what we're doing this weekend. Nails and Besties Day. How about that? So there are already 9 of you that have booked the slots for during the live broadcast. So you'll be in those chairs right behind us. There's an entire to come to. So if it's a manicure you need, a pedicure, or if you want to take advantage of the bundle, 10% off that they're going to give you on Sunday. This is taking place at 9:30 in the morning. So again, if you want a manicure, pedicure from our dear friends, Yada, Lynn, I mentioned I love them all. Cece, I don't even want to forget anybody because there's so many there that I adore. So that's going to be a really fun day. That's one of our mobile Monicas this Sunday, 9:30, 964 Brookwood Center in Fenton. If you were not one that was able to take the spots during the 9:30 broadcast, it's okay. The entire day, she's going to offer up that 10% from open to close. And they're also giving away a really cool basket to one of those 9. And then everybody else gets put into a drawing for a $100 gift card. So come on, there's a lot of fun things that take place. And let me say this, it's not just for girls because guys like to go and have manicures and pedicures too. It's all about self-care, right?
Yes.
All right. So there's a big show on tap for you for the rest of the week. And then coming up on Friday, it is our Foodie Friday, and we'll be talking with Chef Ed from Roth Living, affiliated with Slyman Brothers Appliances. So a big week ahead. Love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day. Stay cool in the heat, and also be kind.